There are some musicians who play their instruments, and then there are those who reinvent them. John Alec Entwistle, born on October 9th, 1944 in Chiswick, London, was one of the latter. To the world he was the ox, stoic, precise, and thunderous. To his bandmates in The Who, he was the unshakable anchor of chaos. And to generations of bassists, he was the man who made the bass guitar a voice that could lead. Entwistle grew up in Acton, a West London suburb where post-war life was modest but filled with opportunity. His mother encouraged him to take up music, and by age 7 he was learning the piano. A few years later came the trumpet and French horn, instruments that taught him harmony, phrasing, and discipline, qualities that would one day define his playing style. At Acton County Grammar School, fate intervened. There, he met a lanky, sharp-minded boy named Pete Townsend. The two bonded over music and formed a small trad jazz group called the Confederates. With Entwistle on trumpet and Townsend on banjo, the arrival of rock and roll changed everything. Entwistle built his first homemade bass in 1959 from spare parts, crude, but enough to spark a lifelong obsession with tone and craftsmanship. By the early 1960s, Entwistle had joined Roger Daltrey's group called Detours, soon to become The Who. With the addition of Keith Moon, the lineup was complete, and a volatile mixture of energy, volume, and vision ensued. While Townsend smashed guitars and Moon demolished drums, Entwistle stood perfectly still, fingers flying, face expressionless, controlled, and exacting. His early choice of the Fender Precision bass gave The Who's music its pulse, but Entwistle was already reaching for something greater, a sound that could cut through. When the band recorded My Generation in 1965, Entwistle unleashed one of rock's first bass solos, fast, fierce, and unapologetically melodic. His bass tone became a revolution. He pioneered the use of round-wound strings, working directly with rotosound to create the now classic swing bass 66s. Strings bright enough to ring like piano wires. His right-hand technique was percussive and lightning fast, earning him the nickname Thunderfingers. He favored clarity over warmth, brightness over mud. On stage, his signal ran through powerful Marshall amps, pushing technology to its limits. In fact, it was Entwistle and Townsend's demand for more volume that led Jim Marshall to design the first 100-watt stacks, an innovation that changed rock music forever. As The Who grew bolder, so did his sound. His Rickenbacker became his weapon of choice, a sleek, growling machine that defined the era of Tommy and live at Leeds. Later came the custom alembic basses, hand-built in California, loaded with active electronics that could shape any frequency he wanted. His engineering and his pioneering became a whole new thing for rock sound. What made John truly unique was his musical mind. He thought in terms of layers, harmony, and counterpoint, like a composer arranging an orchestra. While Townsend's guitar provided the wind and Moon's drums the thunder, Entwistle built the architecture in between those. He rarely moved on stage, yet his sound filled every inch of space. He used chords, harmonics, and rapid runs to add movement beneath the surface of The Who's songs. You can hear it in The Real Me, a tour de force of tone and phrasing, or Substitute, where the bass line dances independently of the rhythm. His writing for The Who often reflected his dark humor. Songs like Boris the Spider and My Wife revealed a very macabre wit hidden beneath his quiet demeanor. And throughout his career, John's collection of instruments became legendary, a visual and sonic museum of innovation. From the Dano Electric of his youth to the Rickenbacker that growled through the 60s, every bass told a chapter of his story. The 1970s saw the rise of his alembic spider basses, and then the futuristic Warwick Buzzard, co-designed with Hans Peter Wilford. By the 1990s, his mainstay was the status graphite buzzard, a space-age instrument of carbon fiber and LEDs built to handle his massive stage rigs. His amplifiers were just as monumental: Hiwatt, Sun, and later Ashdown, all modified to deliver immense clarity and volume. Entwistle's sound wasn't about distortion or chaos. It was about control, headroom, and precision. His tone was much as a scientific pursuit as an artistic one. Offstage, he amassed more than 400 instruments, many of them rare, customized, or built to his own designs. His technical knowledge rivaled that of professional luthiers. He was also a solo artist in his own right. Albums like Smash Your Head Against the Wall, 1971, and Whistle Rhymes in 1972 showcased his fascination with mortality, irony, and humor, themes that often hid behind The Who's bombast. But even in solo work, his bass dominated the soundscape. Every note was deliberate, every tone sculpted like the true artisan he was. When John Entwistle passed away on June 27, 2002 in Las Vegas, the music world lost one of its purest technicians and boldest innovators. He died on the eve of another Who tour, still working, still perfecting, still chasing the sound that defined him since that homemade bass in Acton. His influence runs through every modern bassist who plays with clarity, confidence, and melody. Geddy Lee, Billy Sheehan, Chris Squire, Steve Harris, Victor Wooten have all traced their musical lineage back to the Ox, the very language of bass. The way we think about tone and attack and space was rewritten by John Entwistle's hands. Instrument builders still honor him. Warwick and Status Graphite continue to make signature buzzard models. Rotosound still sells the strings he helped design. His impact extends far beyond technique. It's philosophical. He showed that the bass could lead, could sing, and even command as much attention as any guitar could. In the grand volume of rock history, John Entwistle is both the punctuation and the exclamation. He was the calm within the Who's storm, a classically trained musician inside a band that thrived on mayhem. He never shouted, but his bass could level cities. And even now, when his stage shakes at the low end, rolls like thunder, you can hear him in spirit, in sound, and in every note that refuses to stay in the background. He didn't just play the bass, he absolutely defined it. And as always, I thank you for watching.